Wanted to provide an update on our snow removal efforts. With the weather's cooperating with us, we're able to keep up with the snow by applying our sand and salt mix. Have not needed to plow snow. The roads, for the most part, are clear and travelable. There are some places that there are some accumulations of snow, particularly in left turns and right turn lanes, but the through lanes are pretty much bare and wet. We will continue to monitor them. We have some folks out that are addressing places, elevated roadways like bridges that are typically will be more icy. We ask people to exercise caution because even though the main roads look pretty good shape, you might be able to hit some bad spots on the bridges. We've got our crews standing down except for our ice patrols until about noon. They'll come back in again and start applying sand salt mix. Hopefully we'll keep up with what comes through this evening and through the morning, with the idea that we'll have a complete pass through all of the priority routes in time for the morning commute. With that, I'm open to any questions.
Anyone any concerns that things will thaw out and then we're supposed to get below freezing this morning or tonight, that it'll refreeze in places? Or
Yes, that is a concern. The ambient air temperature still is pretty low, and so we are concerned, particularly tonight, if we get some refreezing, and that's the reason why we're bringing our whole 50 trucks on at noon and treating through the night, perhaps even into the morning commute. We think the whole weather event is going to be pretty much over by about 4 p.m. tomorrow morning. 4 a.m. I'm sorry, did I say p.m.? I meant 4 a.m. So hopefully the roads will be in pretty good shape for the morning commute. That's going to be our challenge, is overnight freezing, but getting the roads acceptable for the morning commute.
When you say exercise caution, what do you mean by that for drivers?
Well, make sure you provide yourself with extra following distance with cars. Be careful in making turns, acceleration or deceleration. Just remember that you may not be able to see the ice when you're on it, so drive with caution, particularly when traffic's moving pretty well and the roads that are wet and travelable, and then you get into a spot that's shady or an elevated road, particularly bridges.
Do you feel like your trucks are the other drivers are giving your trucks enough room to operate?
Yeah, we're real pleased with the public and that the way that they are patient and allow us to get through our routes. We try to stagger our trucks so we leave a lane open in either direction, but we typically get a lot of cooperation from the public and are very much appreciative of that.
For those that say that they wish that you came to their neighborhoods, what do you say to them?
Well, our first priority is our priority routes, the main arterials, so that people can get across town and get to work, get to school. We just don't have the resources to be able to go into the neighborhood streets. We have about 15,000 lane miles of paved roads. Our priority route's about a third of that, 5,000 lane miles, and we think we do an adequate job on the priority routes. We'd be stretched too thin to do a good job on the priority routes if we went into the neighborhoods.
Based on your performance last night, anywhere that you think that you guys could improve for later on today or for the next time?
I think it's we have to be vigilant, be able to monitor weather conditions, icing and refreezing. That's very difficult to anticipate. It just happens when it does. You watch the weather, you watch the temperatures. I think we just need to continue to do what we've been doing, and then to also communicate with folks to let them know that even though things may look good tonight when they go home from work, they could find some icy places tomorrow.
Now, you guys started Monday treating the roads, and you laid down some stuff on the roads to make so you didn't really have to plow. Now that the snow came, it's wet. Did that run off, and do you have to apply it again, or can you no longer apply now that the grounds are wet? You have to focus on plowing.
Yeah, the brine solution that you're talking about that we started applying back on Monday, it does wash off, especially as you get a heavy rain. There will be some residual there even with the wet roads that we're seeing now. And that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure that we spread the sand-salt mix that we're spreading now, and to make sure that the roads continue to be travelable as that initial effectiveness of that brine solution we put down becomes less and less. One of the good things about being able to handle this event with applying sand and salt, it takes us about 8 hours to get through our network, as opposed to about 24 hours if we have to plow. So it's applying sand salt, we can get around through our network in a much shorter time than if we have to plow.
So your 50 trucks will be out at noon, starting to do, again, the salt sand mix for about 8 hours, correct?
Well, we'll be looking at noon, depending on what the weather shapes up and what we think that the weather forecast has for install for us in the evening. They will be available to start at noon. We may want to start them later than that. The important thing is to have the roads completely covered, treated, and before the morning commute.
When you say it takes 8 hours to get through the network, you're talking about the priority routes, right?
Yes, sir. The 5,000 lane miles of priority routes.
How did the website work out, your new interactive map yesterday? Did you see a lot more hits? Can you explain to us how the public used it?
Yeah, I don't have the web hit data, but I know that we've been getting some comments, mostly positive, some critical, but some also just questions about what is it that that I'm looking at here. What does it mean? So, for example, one comment was, why do we see two trucks on the same road? And the reason being that when we apply our sand salt mix, generally that'll cover about a lane. And if you got an arterial with two lanes going both direction, like when we plow, we gang apply, which means that we have one truck back a little ways in the next lane, so it gives traffic the ability to move through it. But it's more efficient than sending that same truck back over that roadway the second time.
You hear a lot of funny feedback from the account, or from the map. People having fun with it.
Well, I have heard that some people have compared it to video games. I'm not really sure I see the connection, but maybe that's a generational thing. I don't know, but I've heard that some people like it and have talked about it being kind of similar to Pac-Man. Oh, it's Tron. Okay.